Good afternoon, everyone. I am delighted to speak for Willis Towers Watson to set the stage for our first panel discussion this afternoon on representation, a very important topic for this year ahead indeed. Now, to do that, for just a moment, I'd like to take you back from 2019 to 1962, when an astronaut was poised for an historic orbit into space. Now, there had been years of scientific experimentation, advanced technology breakthroughs, endless testing, months of preparation when the mission was nearly ground to a halt, and they faced a potential delay. Now, it turns out that John Glenn and the other astronauts were actually a little bit wary about relying on the calculations of an electronic machine, putting their lives in the hands of something that had hiccups and blackouts. So during the pre-flight checklist, he specifically asked for Katherine Johnson, one of the mission team's mathematicians, to come in and recalculate the orbit's trajectory by hand. And he said then, if she confirmed the calculations, he would have the confidence to leave Earth knowing that he could return safely. So you're probably thinking the story of a pioneering woman, or the tale of the integral role that an African-American female played in an important scientific advancement. And you're right, because indeed, Katherine Johnson did enable the possibility of that space orbit. And it was really extraordinary at the time, because it was rare to call on the talents of a woman of color, let alone value them the way that Glenn did. It was the perfect pairing, if you will, of her competence and an ally's belief in her ability. But that's not the entire reason I wanted to remind us of that story. Think about what happened. There was a challenge, a risk. A group of people with different backgrounds came together, debated and analyzed. Collectively, with their talents, they came up with a solution. And then ultimately, dramatically even, they found success and created benefits for everyone. So to me, that story epitomizes that inclusion and diversity sits at that intersection of people and risk. That's an intersection that we at Willis Towers Watson study a lot. And I proffer that inclusion and diversity is one of the most pressing issues at that intersection, because the absence of inclusion and diversity exposes incredible risks. The risks that we don't have the talent to achieve important work, the risk that our financial performance falls behind, the risk that we don't meet our constituents or our clients' or customers' needs, the risk that all those AI algorithms that we're talking about just proliferate suboptimal processes and practices. The business case for inclusion and diversity has been made myriad times in many places. I'm not going to take you through that again. You're aware of it. Yet in most places around the world and in most facets of our life, we've made limited progress. And I think we're stuck. Here's why I think we're stuck. It was 1834, yes, I said 1834, when Ada Lovelace published the first algorithm intended to be carried out by a machine. That was 100 years before the invention of the modern computer, and a woman published what was essentially the first computer code. And 200 years later, we're looking out at 2020 when we expect to look at all of the computer science codes around the world, and 3% of them will be filled by women. More recently, 1973, Katharine Graham was named the first female CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And today, fast forward 45 years, we're up at 25. And when you look at the named executive officers across the entire S&P 1500, 12% of those roles are filled by women. 45 years ago, another thing happened. In the United States, the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 was passed. That was intended to help disabled people get ready for gainful employment. And today, only 14% of American adults on the autism spectrum have a paid job. Now, there has been some progress. Education is a realm where we've made good progress. Men and women are at par in most university systems, many university systems around the world. This is the first year that Oxford actually admitted more women than men. But even so, with that balance of men and women graduating college, Lean In and McKinsey did a recent study that showed for every 100 men promoted to entry-level manager, there are 79 women. So I think it's time to make some changes. And I think we can harness the power, the talent, and the courage of the people in this room, at this forum, and beyond to make real progress. Not change that simply rebalances results in a zero-sum game, but results that make real progress for business and society. We're here as members of the represented and the underrepresented, and I think together we can forge a path forward. The way to do it is debatable, but I would observe 3 things that I've noted have made impact. First of all, examine the talent processes in your organization. Start with pay equity, but look at those promotion and recruitment processes and recognize that if you require a diverse panel of people to review a diverse slate of candidates, perspectives and outcomes change. Debunk those myths that allow for inaction. Don't take the excuse that representation is what it is in our organization because women leave the workforce at greater rates. That McKinsey Lean In study showed us that women stay in the workforce at the same rate as men. Don't let your creative team tell you that you're not going to hire older workers because HBR research says many successful entrepreneurs, in fact, most of them are in their late 40s and 50s. Set targets. As leaders, we use metrics to motivate performance and track progress in many facets of what we do. Yet, Lean In McKinsey say only 38% of organizations set targets for gender representation, and only 12% of them tell employees what those targets are. So if we're so used to metrics in so many other aspects of what we do, why not extend it to this important business issue? When we make progress, the collective impact will be tremendous. So as we continue with today's program, think, if you will, about that space team. They faced a challenge at the intersection of people and risk. They brought together a group of people, they incorporated skills of a diverse team, and they found a way forward that benefited many. I hope you'll listen intently to our panelists, and I hope you'll make this year ahead one of progress inspired by inclusion, diversity, and broad perspectives. Thank you.